ahead and pop onto screen what we're here to talk about today. And I will share, and Claudia, if you want to do the same, I'm just going to drop my LinkedIn into the comment section. And before we get started, I have my monthly giving mastermind program. If many of you have heard about this or seen it, that will be kicking off in July 15th. There's currently just a couple spots, maybe one spot left to participate. And I announce this because I am very, very grateful for the Givebutter team that believes in continued education and is providing a $5,000 scholarship for a member of the monthly giving mastermind that is a Givebutter client. So I will drop, Megan's here. I will drop the link to the mastermind. Applications are wrapping this week. So if you're interested, go ahead and submit for the mastermind. And we'll jump on a phone, talk all about the program. And it's really about building and scaling your recurring giving program over the next 4 months. So by the time of end of year rolls around, you have the acquisition plan, the retention plan, the great landing page, an optimized donation tool, all the things built and done for you. So I just wanted to share that. And then one other announcement while everybody's trickling in is my monthly giving retreat. It's coming up August 21st, 22nd in Atlanta. It's my first in person. There's only 10 total spots. There's 4 left to attend that here in Atlanta. It's going to be for a day and a half together, small community of women nonprofit leaders. And I'm very, very excited about this. Very small, unique. We're doing it in a craftsman home near Piedmont Park. It's going to be as much community building and doing and strategy time and finding solutions and sharing together as much as it's going to be taking a breath and being able to relax and just be together. And so, yes, Megan's going to be there, OG for the retreat. Cindy Lopez, one of my first other mastermind clients, is going to be there. So it's going to be honestly just a great time. This group is already shaping out to be phenomenal. So if you're interested in those things, I just wanted to let you know that they're happening. All right. So without further ado, Churn-Proof. We're talking about building resilient monthly giving programs. Now, acquisition, Claudia and I were talking about this, is talked about a lot. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. But really, monthly giving is about curating a community. I just had a great conversation with Kate Anderson at the Trevor Project. And she talks about this whole mindset shift in repositioning to think about monthly giving not as a revenue stream, but as this relationship that you're building with advocates. So in this case, you have a monthly giving community. You have reached people that are living very busy lives that have signed up with you in a recurring method to do good, not just once, but continuously for a reason. And in some cases, they leave for whatever reason that is, sometimes not on purpose. And your job really is to remind them of why they should stay. And so that's what we're going to be getting into today. Now, I asked some questions in registration, and I want to start off with some data, and then we'll do some introductions, agenda setting, all of that. But I thought this was really interesting to share with all of you. Now, this was yesterday, and there was a large chunk of you that joined between last night and this morning. So it's missing some data points. But number of monthly donors, fewer than 50 was the most. We have some 200 to 500, 50 to 200, 500 plus. So a large range of organizations here with us today. But what I thought was really interesting was the retention rate question. So I asked, what is your average monthly giving retention rate? The largest group of respondents at the time was over 162 people selected not sure. If you are one of those 162 plus people that selected not sure, the number one thing that I want you to do is figure out by the end of this session or today, this week, what is that number? Because this is so important. We have to know what our retention rate is for this community. There's no way that from business decisions or the tech that you have, and maybe the problem is that there is no good tech that allows you to compute this number easily, but this is so important. Among those that are tracking retention, Ashley, that's okay if you're clueless. Now is the time we need to figure it out because that proves everything about why investing in your monthly giving community is so important. Over 121 of you have retention rates above 75%, which is amazing. That was the highest threshold that I have. So I'm sure many of you are even higher than that. 61 are below 60, 50 are reporting 60 to 75%. And I just want to state this is already amazing because, Claudia, I'm sure you know this too from the stats that you see. One time donations are usually falling in that 20 to 30%. So these monthly giving communities have really strong retention rates. And that's right. Today is a new day. We can figure it out. Ask your platforms, they will help you. And if they aren't, that's something we're going to talk about where you probably need a better tech stack solution. What all of the review of looking at the registration, I'm going to go into one other question that I asked you was the reflection of retention is a mirror of what we're doing. And in the responses that I seen, it really was reflecting to me some burnout, broken systems, and some missed moments of connection. So before we dive into the tactics today, I really wanted for us to really get honest and talk about the challenges aren't just about the donor behavior, but the donor behavior sometimes happens as a result of what's happening inside our teams, the tech that we have, and quite frankly, our time constraints. So what's really getting in the way of solid retention? Yes, Kate, 88% at Trevor. I asked this question and I reviewed every single response when I asked, what were your top retention challenges? And it was these 6 themes that came up pretty consistently. And what was clear is retention was not just one thing, but it was a mixture of technology gaps, team limitations, small teams, and changing donor expectations. And these were some of the things that you said. We want to make sure that providing value to our donors, but we have a limited budget. I'm a one-person shop. Not knowing their preferred method of contact to check in when their gift lapses. Like, do I email? Do I text? Do I call? How do I get in touch with them to recapture them? What do I literally say? Credit cards are declining in our systems, and our database doesn't make it easy to find out who's dropped off. Like, you really have to go in the weeds and search. So these were not hypotheticals that I just listed. These were literally copy and paste responses from your peers. So when we're talking about churn, we're talking about a couple of things: capacity, visibility, and how hard it is to balance these kind of like short-term fire drills that we get all the time in our organizations really with long-term strategy. So, you're trying to grow something meaningful, often without enough time, tools, or team. If you feel me, give me like some exclamation marks in the chat. And yet, you are still showing up. And that is resilience. And that is what this entire session is about. It is what keeps your mission going, even when the resources might be thin, building a program. And these are your believers that we're finding. So oftentimes, as I started out, they don't want to leave. So how do we re-engage them, re-bring them in if they do churn on accident? Yes, I'm getting all the exclamation marks. You are all resilient. And so today, what we want to do is find solutions to these challenges together. Now, there's only so much that we can cover in the next 50 minutes, but I'm going to do my darnest, and Claudia will too, to give you as many ideas and inspiration as we can. And so this is what the rest of the day is going to look like together. Claudia is going to break down the state, and which is a great reality actually of recurring giving right now, beyond what you might be seeing in some of like the big nonprofit news articles, how to navigate donor management when we're specifically thinking about recurring. Yes, together. Some churn strategies. So I'm going to break down how do we stop the silent churn? These are the ones where it's like payment recovery. How do we proactively track? Building for capacity, where it's like, how do we build retention strategies if we don't grow our team, if nothing changes, right? How do we do things a bit smarter? And then how do we really engage emotionally and make donors feel known and needed? And I created all of these actually last night because I changed what I was going to talk about based on all the responses in your registration because that's what I do. And so I was up at like 10 p.m. last night changing some things in here. And then if you've heard me before, give me like a thumbs up or a heart if you've heard me speak before. You know, I have some big ideas. And so I came with some big ideas to share with you at the end because I always love what ifs. And the biggest thing that I want to remind you of today is be curious. That was my word of the year this year. There is the way to do whatever you need to do, especially with AI, especially with the tools, with the tech. Be curious in this session. Yes. Okay. Love all the thumbs up. And then we're going to jump into Q&A. You arrived here with a question and we're going to jump into it. If for some reason you have come across this webinar and you have no idea who I am, welcome. My name is Dana Snyder, and I wrote the book, The Monthly Giving Mastermind, last September, interviewing 15 nonprofits. I've helped build 23 monthly giving programs. I am the host of a podcast that's in year 3, Missions to Movements, with nearly 200 episodes for free. Go ahead and binge them all about thought leadership, effective fundraising, building monthly giving programs. And then once a year in February, it'll be February 25th and 26th next year, I host the Monthly Giving Summit. Shout out for anybody who's attended MGS in the past. Givebutter has been an incredible partner in all of these things. And I'm super grateful for organizations and technology like Givebutter that make it possible. And I'm a monthly donor. If you've seen this before, I shared it at the Monthly Giving Summit. I support currently 5 organizations in a monthly capacity. The longest standing is December that I have been donating to for over 5 years, and I have no sign of stopping. The Hope Booth, I think I'm around 3. Givebutter would know this because they're a Givebutter client. So Claudia could answer this for me, but that's a little bit about me. And Claudia, I'll pass it to you.
Dana, thank you so much for having me join this session today. I'm really excited to be here. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Claudia. I am the Customer Education Manager here at Givebutter. And I love it. I love my job because I get to work with amazing organizations like yours, people who are building community like Dana, and just I know all of you show up and show out for your mission. So thinking a little bit more about what sustainability could look like for your organization and how to do that with recurring giving. Dana, if you can take us to the next slide, my friend. So the last month, a few fundraising platforms, you may have seen this, even in the Chronicle of Philanthropy, they reported that their fundraising results have been less than favorable. And I get it. There are numerous reasons to explain why we're seeing a dip in fundraising. So some that came off the top of my head, donor fatigue. Donor fatigue is real. When donors are constantly being asked to give, and then give again without ever feeling appreciated, acknowledged, or even invited into the work, it can feel a little burdensome to support an organization where you're not feeling included or impacted or impactful. On top of that, I think we can all agree that there is some economic pressure that's forcing some people to rethink their budgets, and myself included. On the other end of the spectrum, I actually reconstructed my monthly budget to include a new recurring donation, and I'll use them as an example because it's been about 3 months, and I have some opinions and thoughts and definitely think that they could benefit from a conversation like this. Understandably, though, not many people have that luxury. So instead of thinking through ideas like maybe decreasing their recurring giving or maybe pausing their plan temporarily, they just go on and cancel. And there's no communication, there's no outreach on both ends. Another reason I think that could play into why we're seeing some fundraising dips is just clunky donor experiences. So something that's confusing, difficult to use, or requires a lot of steps. And I want to trace back to that conversation that I just mentioned, that new recurring donation I just gave. I was adamant about giving to this organization because it's education forward, it's international education. That's something that's near and dear to me. But when I went to their website and clicked donate, unfortunately, their form did not take my card. I tried a different card. It did not take that.
Wow.
I tried my husband's card. It did not take his card as well. And I had reached out to the organization because I really, like I'd mentioned, really wanted to give to this organization. And I think because of time zone differences, it did take some time for them to get back to me. And they tried to propose another solution, but the solution still didn't work out. So ultimately, I had to give through PayPal. I went out of my way to create a PayPal account in order to go
Wow.
to this organization. So do you see how many steps are in there? I really wanted to give to this organization. But Dana, where do you think people would have stopped through that flow?
The first one.
There we go. So that is what I'm talking about when I say, clunky donor experiences. How quickly and easily and effortlessly is it for your donors to give to your organization? Now, that conversation, that article actually inspired Givebutter to take a look into our data to see kind of where we are. Are we also experiencing that fundraising dip? And we noticed that while others are shrinking, Givebutter is not quite experiencing that fluctuation. So Givebutter's donation volume actually grew 60% in Q1 this year. In April alone, we actually saw a 42% increase
Wow.
year over year growth, which is incredible. Now, internally, our team was trying to understand how do we get to the bottom of that? And truthfully, our CSMs, myself, people who are working with customers, we think that momentum is actually being fueled by the donor experience. So something that feels frictionless, something that feels modern, simple, digital first. And we're going to take a look into the Givebutter dashboard for those of you who have Givebutter, but for those of you who don't, I want you to think about how you can find this in your own tools and your experience as well. Now, I think the difference also lies in your strategy. Like I'd mentioned, the tools, like Dana had mentioned, the platform that you're using, and how you're making it easy for your donors to say yes to giving recurring sort of frequency, and how to make it easy for them as well. And I will say, Dana, and I was praising Dana in the beginning before this call for having such a really direct niche. Recurring giving is a fundraising strategy itself. It's not just something you plop onto your donation experience. It's a strategy you need to think through. How are you building that community? So we did find that recurring giving is a major factor in driving the growth that we've seen on Givebutter. So Dana, if we can go to the next slide over here. Some quick takeaways. Recurring donors are committed. We know they are committed. They are showing up for you month after month. And on Givebutter, we actually found that they are 5 times more likely to give over the course of the year than a one-time donor. Now, I'm sure many of you have already known that. This could be something you've heard in previous webinars with Dana, but we know that these are committed and sustained donors, people who are providing your organization with that predictable income. Now, on the Givebutter platform, we do find that monthly donors make up a majority. This is why monthly first is probably going to be the best frequency to begin with as you're thinking through that recurring strategy here. So we found that a little more than 75% of donors are monthly donors. Now, we do find yearly donors are powerful too. They average about $179 per gift here, but that is, remember, that is going to be annually. Now, we do find the average gift size for monthly donations is going to be it's actually $51.76, but I rounded it up to $52 here.
That's actually a great amount as an average.
I mean, if we do the math here versus that $179 for annual, this is going to be about over $600 a year.
Amazing.
Incredible. And that's even before you factor in any upgrades or maybe even some campaign re-engagement. It really depends on how you're communicating with your donors after that point, after that initial donation. And in fact, just to kind of tie in that my personal recurring donation story, I decided to start with a $25 monthly gift. And then I told my husband about this organization. I don't want to call them out yet because there's still some work there. But I told my husband about this, and essentially their mission is providing satellite internet to areas across the globe, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, to give students access to the internet so that they can go on and learn, provide teachers with the capability of giving their students education and so on and so forth. So I told my husband about this because I love it so much. He went on and also started a $25 gift. And so do you see how it's just a drop? It's a ripple. And I truly believe that this is something that happens within everyday organizations, yours as well. It's just a matter of making that experience like an option there. And then we also find that with the first year retention rate, it's a little over than 85% on Givebutter, which is great because that kind of mirrors what we saw, Dana, in your stats from the individuals who are joining us today. So over 70% experience retention rates. We also find that there are people who don't know what their retention rate is, which is really important. I'm going to take a look into the Givebutter dashboard if you have Givebutter, just to show you what that would look like as well.
Amazing.
So yeah, of course. What that number tells us is that you can count on these recurring donors to stick around. Now, the data that I pulled here, this is from this month. I pulled it, I believe, the first week of June when I was working on these slides. So it's recent. This is not last year's numbers. This is not Q1 numbers. This is going to be information that we're seeing, experiences and recurring giving practices that we're seeing now, today.
Amazing. Megan, I love this. She's talking about your story. Someone who's given off and on for the last 6 years, but not more than $100 total a year and not every year. And then now she's $35 a month gift last week.
There we go.
It's having the opportunity and the option and the ask present and consistent enough for someone to take the action when the time is right for them. Like something might have happened in their life. Megan, I don't know who this is. But I know for me personally, like I was marketed, I'll say marketed to, for probably the ACLU forever. And I obviously know who they are as a brand, but until like literally something was compelling enough for me to take action, then I took action. But it was the opportunity was there. It was easy to give, like all the things were in the right place. It was easy to find, that allowed me to say yes. So diving into the tools that literally make this work.
Yeah. Just to kind of reiterate, Dana, recurring giving only works if the experience works. And that's kind of where your tech stack comes into play. This was also a conversation Dana and I were having at the beginning of this call. You need to find a platform that's going to work for your organization. And I want you to all think about the experiences that you already provide, what's working, what's not working, and how you can find a tool that's going to help you get and reach the point that you hope to be in the next 3, 5, 10 years. So with Givebutter, we are going to have a donation experience that converts at 53%. Now, that is actually nearly double what most platforms see. So when we pulled these numbers, we saw an improvement actually from our previous 47% conversion rate. So we are still on that upward trend, which is incredible. Now, to give you context here, the industry average of donor conversion on a donate page, for instance, is going to be 19%. And we can understandably get to that understanding here simply because of what I experienced, where my credit card didn't go through. I tried another credit card. I tried my husband's card, and then I had to create an account. So we do see a really quick, seamless, frictionless giving experience, and we can take a look at that shortly. But all of the campaigns on Givebutter, it's not just the donation form.
Quick pause. I was just going to say, this is a really good stat along with your retention rate to know what is your conversion rate of your specific donation pages. If you can find it of what it is on your specific form, that's incredible with your tools. But even if you use something like Google Analytics and just by looking at, and you can use ChatGPT for this if you want, plug in like this is how much total website traffic we've had over the past month or 90 days or whatever time frame you want, and then enter in this is how many donations have taken place on this page. You can find your conversion rate. It's a really interesting number to have to say like, is this actually working for us?
Yep. That is incredible. We do have that Google tag integration. So if you do have that set up, you can track exactly what that traffic and conversion rate looks like just for your organization. Now, Givebutters, all of Givebutters campaigns here are going to be mobile first. So we have digital wallets such as Google Pay, Apple Pay. If you have a PayPal account and that's how you prefer to give, you can use PayPal. If you have a Venmo account, you can pay with Venmo. There are donors who maybe want to give directly from their bank account. We also have ACH. So thinking through that flexibility that you can offer your supporters as well. Maybe not all donors want to give with their credit card. Maybe not all donors have those details on hand. So just thinking through how you can provide a well-rounded experience for all donor types. You don't want to deter anyone from coming to your campaign, not seeing their preferred payment method, and maybe not going out of the way to
A lot
create
of people prefer PayPal.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I just created PayPal. I've never used it. We do find on Givebutter, though, most recurring gifts come through debit or credit card, and then PayPal is the second most popular option. So there could be some security asset to that I didn't know about, Dana. No, something that's also pretty great about the recurring giving experience on Givebutter is that once a donor sets up their plan, they can manage it without logging in. So I have so many accounts. I rely on Apple's passwords thing just to refill all of that information. So their portal is actually going to be linked to their receipt, and Dana has a wonderful example for us today. So if they ever wanted to change their donation amount, if they wanted to give more, if they wanted to make any quick updates, all they would need to do is access that receipt in their email, click that link, and they have access to that portal. They don't need to remember yet another password. They don't need to do a two-factor authentication. If they would like to link to a profile, maybe they want to have their own account with Givebutter, fantastic, they can. But this is the flexibility donors are looking for. Like Dana had mentioned earlier in the call, we all just live busy lives, you included. So, making it very easy for your supporters to manage their plan as well, instead of maybe perhaps having them lapse the plan, never log back into their account to manage or communicate or so on and so forth. Now, my last point here is Givebutter Plus. So Givebutter Plus is going to be an optional subscription here. Givebutter is free at its core, but this is going to give you access to what we call workflows. So think of it as automations. So instead of having to manually check your dashboard when someone cancels their recurring plan, you can set up an automation so that when someone cancels their recurring plan, you designate a task to yourself to call up that donor and reach out. You create an email that goes out automatically after that recurring plan has been canceled, or you could set a wait time. Maybe they want to communicate with you first. So having that ability to create some sort of sequence, you can even do it for milestones, anniversaries for how long they've been a recurring donor. That's how you're going to build those strong relationships, even when we see giving patterns shift. So Dana, if we can go to the next slide here.
Yep. And then Heidi, I will acknowledge, so she's asking about if there's no login, is it safe and secure? So even with my example that I'll show you, when I did click to enter my donor dashboard, it sends an email to my email address that I have to click on to be able to essentially authenticate. So there is a step. It doesn't just immediately open it if it's expired. If you haven't been in there in a while, it does do an off.
Yep, exactly the case, Dana. And let's say, Heidi, any of your donors perhaps lose access to that email, you can resend them their receipt. And so then that would grant them access to that portal. Your donor can also reach out to our support team, and we're happily going to give them access to their portal there. So like I had mentioned, I want to walk you through how to create those recurring ready campaigns, how to manage those recurring donations in Givebutter, and all of the other options that you have to curate an experience for your recurring donors here. So even creating an automation, finding that retention rate within Givebutter as well. So I'm going to go on and share my dashboard here. All right. Now, like I had mentioned, I know not all of you are using Givebutter. You can explore Givebutter, sign up. It's free, but I want you to think about how you can access similar tools in your existing software. So let's first talk about your fundraising, your donation experience here. So in Givebutter, that's going to be under campaigns. And when you build a campaign, let's dive into one of my examples here. Give me just a second. Just going to refresh. It seems like it was frozen for a bit here. But in your donation experience, you're going to have the ability to customize your donation amounts. So I don't recall who it was. I did see it in the chat. Christine, fantastic. Christine said, never assume they're going to give the lowest number, referencing donors. They usually land in the middle of your offerings. And so that is a clear sign that you should be customizing your donation amounts. So in this tools section, for those of you who are interested in customizing those donation amounts, you're going to see you can adjust the donation frequency. So you are going to want to have a plan dedicated just to monthly, and you're going to have the ability to customize those monthly amounts. Now, here we are going to see some preset numbers. Does not mean you need to use these presets. So if $10 seems a bit too low for what you're trying to earn year over year, you can remove $10. If 25 seems like too big of an entry point, you could go on and set it to 20 here. My little tidbit of information would also be try setting your donation amounts from highest to lowest. Don't quite know the donor psychology around this, but I will tell you, as a donor myself, I will just click one of the first couple of numbers I see. Even if it's high, I'm just going to go on and select that, just because I guess in my mind I'm thinking, let me just be quick, let me do this quickly, I have other things to do, let's click an amount. And so we could see here what that looks like for your supporters. So you can customize those donation amounts. You can also add what we call an impact statement. So you can...
Big fan of those.
Me too. So your donors, I think I'm trying to find a way to phrase this. The reason donors give to your organization is because they want to be involved. They currently can't, maybe because of their workload, family life, other things that are going on. They probably don't have the ability to work for a nonprofit that aligns with something that's near and dear to them, but they want to give and they want to support and they want to feel involved. And the best way they can do that is through giving and funding your mission. So how do you describe to your donors what that $20 impact is going to look like for your organization? What $100 a month could mean for your organization? Those description points are really going to influence how much your donors are giving to your organization and perhaps even why they should give to your organization.
And I like the word you used, can provide, could provide. Monthly giving programs, for how I talked about them, and unless there's something unique that you're doing for your program, is that they're meant to be unrestricted funds. These are meant to help you with the operational expenses, the program expenses, anything that you need. These descriptions that Claudia is messaging are just meant to be impact visualizations about what something might cost in your organization estimate, that allows for a really powerful mind movie in someone's head and allows you to tell further stories in your further email communications.
Yep, exactly. You can even
Yes, unrestricted funds.
You can even segment by the amount that they gave to remind them at the end of the year what that impact looked like based on their donation amount.
Yep.
So these little details, these little adjustments can really go further with how you're communicating and building that relationship with the supporter. Now, once you have that experience, let me jump. I'm actually going to stay in the dashboard just because I'm only sharing the screen, but you can go on and show your supporter exactly what that experience looks like on the donate. Now, this is an event campaign here. Let me share this tab instead. But just to kind of give you an idea, when your supporter comes to the campaign.
Oh, and I have some examples, Claudia, too, of screenshots of live ones. So
yes. So we'll see some examples from Dana. I just want to show you what it looks like in the dashboard so we could understand. Now, another facet to this is going to be reviewing just the recurring plans. So you are going to have this transaction section. You are going to see all transactions, but I want you all to get nitty gritty and familiar with your recurring plan data. So Givebutter does have this recurring plans tab. If your software does as well, you should bookmark that page. You should be in that page quite frequently. So we are going to give you some quick insights into what your recurring plan income and revenue stream looks like. So based on all of the active plans here, regardless of their frequency, this organization here, this demo, is bringing in $331 just from recurring plans. We're going to see there are 9 active plans and what our average plan amount is here. This is our demo, keep that in mind. But this is going to be information that informs how you are building your recurring your monthly giving program. So if we see that the average plan here is $36, that's a good start here. But if we did want to bring it up even further, we could probably go back into our recurring giving and maybe increase the lowest amount here, maybe offer other, so our supporters can go on and dictate how much they'd like to give to the organization. Now you're going to have the ability to review all of your recurring plans here. You're going to see any plan that is active and any plans that have been canceled. Now, when your supporter cancels on Givebutter, they are going to be asked for a reason. We do this because we want to give you as much information as possible so you can perhaps go on and re-engage that donor. So if they are very clear that, this is just not something that's aligning with their budget at the moment, then you can come back and you can say, thank you for all of your support this past year or so. Is there maybe another way that you can help support our organization? Volunteer.
And I do have sneak peek teaser. Stay tuned. I will share. I came up with these last night. I wrote out 2 template emails for you all. One is going to be if someone pauses or cancels, and then 45 days later, a nudge to re-engage them. So I will share those. Stick with us, and I'll share those in a Google Doc with you.
Brilliant. So I just have a couple of more pieces I want to engage your minds in if you're using Givebutter or not. And then I would love, Dana, for you to talk a little bit more about that. I think it's going to be a perfect segue. So you are going to have this filtering feature as well. Think about how you can filter your current donors, your recurring donors in your existing platform. So in Givebutter, we can go on and we can filter out by individuals who have recurring plans. So maybe we want to see all individuals who have at least one recurring plan. If they have numerous recurring plans, we can tell them how their impact is making a larger splash. We could also filter based on their payment method, their frequency, and their status, or even next bill date. Now, these are going to be filters you can use when you're curating your emails. So Givebutter does have a built-in marketing tool. So if you did want to segment all supporters who have at least one recurring donation here, so it would be greater than 0. And that recurring donation is, let's come back up to recurring plan. Let's say that recurring donation is greater than $24 on a monthly basis. So we are getting very granular with the audience that we're reaching out to. Now, yes, they are a recurring donor, but we are acknowledging what their support looks like and a more intricate level here. So they're not just a recurring donor. They're a monthly donor who is giving $25 a month. So yeah, double up on that. But this is going to be a way that you can speak to this donor. You can let them know what that $25 a month impact is looking like. You can choose to reach out to them on a monthly level versus a monthly basis versus perhaps a yearly basis if you do have yearly plans. So just thinking through the ways that you can go on and segment your supporters. Now, this is if you want to craft your emails individually. If you would prefer to have something that's a bit more automated, that's where Givebutter Plus and workflows is going to come into play. And I'm going to just link into Givebutter Plus in the chat space for you if you are interested in exploring that. Now, with Givebutter Plus workflows, this is going to allow you to create a trigger and build out quite literally an automation based on that trigger.
All of you should have this. No matter what platform you are on, you need to have an automated, and we're going to talk about this, but email welcome series to start. But I love here, even like coming up on an anniversary that's in here, canceling the plan. Like there are so many automations that one of the largest things in registration that came up was I'm a small team, I'm one person. How do I automate a bunch of these things? And this is like set up the foundation and then run it. And then go in maybe on a quarterly basis, set a calendar reminder and tweak the language.
Right. And as a result, you can go on and you could designate any action. So when someone becomes a recurring donor, send them an email automatically, acknowledge their efforts. You can also go on and designate a task to yourself. So if you are the person that likes to build those personal relationships, you can call them up. Let Givebutter give you a notification to call that donor. So just thinking through ways that you can kind of streamline your work efforts here. Now, the last piece that I want to talk about is going to be custom reports. And I'm just adding this in here because Dana had mentioned retention rates, understanding.
Quick hack just to get super nerdy on this, in the workflow, for
Yeah.
those of you that love ChatGPT, me, you could literally tell ChatGPT, "I use Givebutter Plus. These are all the options they give me to build out a workflow. Create for me a 6-month retention plan that includes email, text messages, and a phone call for my donors." And va-voom. Let ChatGPT build it for you, and then you just take the instructions and plug it in here.
Yeah. And just
Ta-da!
a step further, if you need some help building out language, Givebutter does have a built-in AI functionality here. You would just need to generate a prompt here. It's going to ask me to open the email editor, but it's going to ask you just to generate a prompt, and you can go on and say, I want to thank this donor for starting their recurring giving program. And it's going to give you
Yes, it's like a sales funnel. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Now, understanding what that impact of your recurring giving looks like is really important. So, with Givebutter Plus, you are going to get something called custom reports, and this is going to show you based on a particular time frame what that giving looks like. So here, I'm taking a look at transaction-based information. I can see year to date what that revenue looks like here, and I'm going to see current period versus previous period. Now, this is a fairly new demo. We don't have many monthly giving programs in here, but for those of you who have access to a tool like this is going to be something very beneficial to tracking that recurring giving, how it's growing within your organization. So there's going to be this filter button here for Givebutter, and you're going to see there is, I'm just going to type in recurring status. All recurring status refers to canceled or active. So we're only going to look at active plans here. So I'm just going to filter by that information, and I'm going to filter by a particular time frame. So I'm just going to set all time just so we can take a look at how that appears. So we can see here all of our recurring gifts. If I wanted to, I could also filter by recurring just to double check that these are only recurring gifts, and they are, so active, active, active. And we can see previous period versus current period, how our recurring giving program is growing for our organization. Now, if you wanted to get that retention rate, what you would need to do is just simply export this data. So you could export as a CSV. What you're going to need to do is some formulas, some calculations, and just compare this year's donors, number of donors, to last year's number of donors, times that by 100, and you'll have that retention rate here. So we can kind of see what that data looks like, but if you wanted to visualize it, you're going to have access to that feature here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool. And I think this all plays into, are you good for me to switch back over?
Yep, all yours.
Okay. So this brings me to what this looks like as a donor. So I recently just got, you'll see, or actually it's, yeah, June 5th, if I can read my little small screen, got my most recent receipt from the Hope booth. This is a receipt that got sent to me through Givebutter. They've customized the message. Thank you for joining the movement, et cetera, et cetera. I will say they're a small team. They also send me handwritten cards probably every 3 months, which I think is phenomenal. It breaks down the summary of what the gift is, but what I wanted to show you here was around the donor management portion, and then we'll move on. But it says to manage your monthly plan, click here. When I click in, one, it did send me to my email to click to verify. And then it brought me to this very simple landing page with my plan details. So I have the processing fee. It tells me when my monthly gift is. It says that it's active. What it also does is here, if I wanted to go in and click edit plan, it lets me edit the plan. So my amount, the frequency, my email information. And it also has, where you see pause or cancel plan right over here on the right hand side. If I was to click pause or cancel the plan, it brings it up larger. Pause. If you don't want to cancel, you can pause. If I click pause, it actually gives me multiple options of the length of time that I would want to pause. 1 month, 3, 6, or custom, or until I resume. So it could be indefinitely, but it's still paused, which is opening up the window for further conversation, or
Mhm.
cancel. Now, what happens on, because I also work with organizations as on the fundraising consultant side, that I see these happen is anytime someone pauses or cancels, One, you could set up those automations we just talked about. Two, you can choose what notifications you get sent to your inbox. So you could set up a filter in your Gmail or your Outlook, whatever you use, that any of these like Givebutter plan notifications pop into a folder that's specifically when it's canceled, specifically when it's paused, so that you have immediate information about when this is happening. So I just wanted to be able to express what it looks like on the other side. And I think the importance of these things are going to happen. People are going to do this. It's what we take as actions on the front end of it happening and after the fact to hopefully bring them back in. Because again, how I started this presentation was they signed up for a reason and a purpose at the beginning. So even having that knowledge, if they answer you about why they canceled, to go back and really curate that message is important. So how do we stop the silent churn? So some of this is based on payment failures. Some of this is just because we have data blindness and tech limitations. So my big question to you right now, and especially after seeing a little bit about what we just saw, is your current tech stack serving you or is it stressing you the heck out? And if it's stressing you out, it is June. I'm going to call this like our renew beginning of the year motivations, whatever it is. It's time to switch. Like what got you here is not going to get you there. If you are a one-person team, a small team, and your tech is not empowering you and supporting you in your mission, need to research and move on to something better. That's literally the ultimate question. So the first thing that's really important is that when there are failed payments happening, you get alerted. Kate goes stressing me out. Yeah, no one's got time to be stressed out. We're doing meaningful work and changing the world. We need to switch these things. So whatever that needs to happen, talking to your board of directors, talking to your team to get you unstressed and to manage some of these things. So if there's a hidden leak, the hidden leak most of the time is people having a credit card failure that they don't even know. It's unnoticed to them, and sometimes it's unnoticed to you, and you don't notice it until they leave. So pro tip is just setting up automatic failed payment alerts. Most of the time, your donation tools are going to send 2, 3 follow-up emails to try and get these back. However, in most cases, set an alert and a friendly email or a text or a phone call makes a huge difference. I had a podcast episode with the Houston Food Bank. She makes phone calls. She's said, and you can listen to the podcast episode. I'm not making this up. They have 5,200 monthly donors. She makes phone calls with failed payments, has never had a negative conversation. And people say, I didn't know. Thank you so much for letting me know. Let me go ahead and reactivate right now. So that part is a bit manual, right, of actually making the call, but maybe you start with the email, start with the text. But if they're not opening them, if the open rate is low, then they're not getting the payment failures either. So they're just not seeing them. So they're not ignoring you. Just track to make sure that they're actually being opened. So that's number one. Number two, on the front end, a proactive website and form design goes a really long way. So one example of this, and cancellation can happen in an error when people think they gave one time, they didn't mean to give monthly. So how do we just eliminate that from the beginning? This is the Picnic Project. I love them. I just helped build their program with the Monthly Giving Mastermind. This is their monthly giving only page. This is to join the Plenty. It's the name of their monthly giving program. They say just $44 per month provides a week's worth of groceries for 2 families. It says at the top here, it's a recurring donation. This contribution is set to renew monthly. The only option, the only thing talked about on this page is monthly. So there's no donor confusion that's happening. Same thing with Community Mindfulness Project. Join the circle by becoming a monthly supporter. Your recurring gift. It is super clear. So how can we avoid donor cancellation because they gave an error thinking that it was one time? By having a simple monthly giving landing page that is curated with a monthly giving form. The third one, whether or not this can happen in your current CRM or it's something that you build, and this is where getting curious happens with a Google Sheet, with using Zapier or a tool like that, having kind of a dashboard for you, which identifies any risks. If they missed a gift, if they're not opening their emails, this goes into your email tools. Like who just has not opened your emails in the past 30 days, the past 60 days? Your monthly donors should be a separate segment in your email dashboard. If you're seeing a low open rate with those emails, that means that there should be another way of reaching out and communicating to those donors, or if they've changed their giving patterns. And if you think maybe design doesn't matter, we just send emails, maybe having an omni-channel presence doesn't matter, it does. This is a case study from an organization I worked with a year ago. And we looked at stats 4 months before we worked together and about 4 to 5 months after we worked together. By just shifting the language on their landing page to make sure it's monthly, like scattered all throughout. I made it super clear, had an email right after. Thank you for being a monthly supporter. Their monthly churn rate went from 2.8 to 1.4. And their cancellations in the 4 months prior, they had 395 cancellations. That is a whole lot of time that person was spending managing all those conversations. They went down to 54 people over a 4-month period of time. Way more manageable to reach out and talk to. The QR code that you see just links out to the LinkedIn article where I explained literally how we did this and how we integrated automated handwritten notes, text messaging, and email because they had a really low email open rate. So you want to acknowledge that. Next, building for capacity. What are the low-level systems that can work without you? So I'm going to share some emails, but you should have some templated emails set to run based on a certain action. I'm going to talk briefly about this automated stewardship toolkit. And if you can and feel comfortable using AI to support you with time. So I recommend these if this, then that email templates. So from a 4-part email welcome series, having a pause email, a cancellation email, credit card, a monthly update, all of these you should not be writing customly every single time. Have them pre-templatized that if you need to go in and make small changes, you can, but the bulk of it should be done. Now, a micro stewardship toolkit. One of the most underutilized options that you have for visibility of making sure that your monthly donors feel seen and encouraged is by running a thank you video ad on Facebook and Instagram to just your monthly donors. You can upload a CSV file and you can have this automated, by the way. You don't have to just upload every single month. You could have this automated in the system where, let's say you have 100 monthly donors, 500 monthly donors. Let's just say you have 10,000 monthly donors. It is a very small spend, very small. I'm talking about pennies on the dollar to reach these people because it's such a smaller niche group that they're going and finding to share this video with. And it's a specific video just for monthly donors. And it's just saying thank you. Maybe it's linking to a blog post about the impact that they've made. Super simple. Handwritten thank you notes. So automated. There's a couple different tools out there. Handwritten is one, Letter Labs is another one. For the Monthly Giving Summit, I sent out these postcards. So this is the front, and on the back is in pen. It is literally written with a pen. If I was to lick this, it would smear, and I get to pick the handwriting. And through Zapier, and they have automations in most of these tools that connect with nonprofit CRMs now, which is fabulous, that you can go in and if someone signs up as a monthly donor, wait a week, or because mail takes time, send immediately a thank you handwritten note. So within that first month, they're receiving a handwritten note that you have pre-written, which is amazing. Have board of directors or volunteers call at key milestone moments. If you know in your retention that at month 7, I'm making this up, you see a dip. For whatever reason, people are dropping off. At month 6, maybe you schedule at that month's board meeting or have a set day where you're calling those monthly donors or you're texting them just an extra, this is what we've been up to, a success story, a win. It doesn't always have to be a direct thank you because that can get boring, but what have they helped do? Something that's really big, and I believe, and I was talking to Devron Williams about at the NAACP, is sharing winning stories. We want to be part of a team that's winning. How do we share the impact that we're doing? And this is a great opportunity to do that. And if you are hesitant around texting, I had this conversation with Tatango too, but within Givebutter, once someone gives you their phone number, you as nonprofits have a wonderful ability, because there's a law, that you can text them until they opt out. That is unique. For-profit businesses cannot do that. So ask donors, leave it optional, for their cell phone number, and you can pre-schedule SMS updates. Okay. So again, automate as much of this as you can as possible. And when you are reaching out, we want to engage emotionally. So reinforcing the identity, the belonging, giving them insider access. If you can, use segment-based storytelling. If someone gave, I'm going to make this up, but through an environmental campaign, send them nature-focused update, not a general newsletter. If someone gave because they wanted to protect the coast in California, then send them updates on the coast in California. Like, there are tools within your emails. Again, search, ask questions to your tech providers, to your tools online. The automations are there to make these really rich, personalized donor experiences, even with a small team. And I say this because I am basically team member with virtual assistant and doing a bunch of this work. I love Kate is here. Kate at the Trevor Project, they just gave insider access. It's Pride Month. It's Happy Pride Month. And they did a webinar where they invited their monthly donors to a webinar talking about the impact and what they're working on. So it doesn't have to be a pitch, optional Q&A, instant great engagement booster, way for people to be in community together. So people don't, and I say this as a donor, don't always want to be thanked. We want to feel essential. Like, we can't do this without you. Here's what your gift did this month. Here's what's happening next quarter. You don't need to say thanks again all the time. Someone in Italy actually asked me, do we have to say thanks 12 times a year? And I was like, not in so many words, but a lot of times they're not going to open every single email you send them. Most likely we won't. So make sure that it's impact focused. All right. Here's the moment you have all been waiting for. What are the emails that I think you should send? So I have put together 2. I'm going to drop the Google Doc right now into the chat. There is a donor pause or cancellation email for you here, and a 45-day re-invitation email. It is a Google document that you all should be able to view. So hit file, make a copy, and then you can make your own edits. And there's a blog post that I wrote with the Givebutter team around further donation retention tactics. And the biggest thing that I want to express here is you don't have to have 52 touch points. Like, it doesn't need to be crazy. You just need a rhythm that fits for you, that builds trust. It reminds them of their impact, and it's just showing up consistently. If you're looking at your emails for this group and they are not opening them, there needs to be another channel of communication, because they're going to say, I never heard from you, although you were sending it, right? Gloria Ymana, I brought her up before. She sends every 3 months. I don't know who is writing them. She has a volunteer-only team and her. She's making it happen. They're doing something. So you can set up the foundation of what will work for you. Make it manageable, but have some foundation. My goal for you is set up sometime this month, one day, even if it's a day, to do a brainstorm and work on nothing but retention, because here's the fact. Your acquisition and your growth, of course, matter, but a monthly giving program is only as strong as its retention, because growth without loyalty is just churn in disguise. The whole reason that we build monthly giving programs is to be able to have donors that last for years and years, hopefully. So, okay, we're at 1. If you have to jump, I understand, but I'm going to run through some big ideas very quickly with you, and this will be recorded, so you can reach them after the fact. So stick with us if you can. Number 1 is, what if you created a tiered donor journey? So for orgs that have a little bit more bandwidth, maybe this might fit for you, but how can you break up your monthly donor base based upon how long they've been with you and share some different messaging? So once someone reaches that 12-year plus bucket, what's the leadership messaging? Are you sharing with them some bigger partnership things? What's some different benefits, some different perks that they have once they've reached that level? They're telling you that they're in it for a longer haul than just someone who's been with you briefly, so you can expand on that messaging. So track this information. 2, along the lines with tracking how long someone's been with you, what is a recognition program for either loyalty years or giving milestones? So whether somebody's been with you for 1, 2, 3+ years, or maybe they've hit buckets where you've given $500 over the course of X time with us, or $1,500 with us. Because of this legacy, because of this trust, this loyalty with us, you're sending a thank you video. You're sending a special anniversary card. They get some stickers, a hat, whatever that can be, as just recognition to show that you're paying attention. And then, which I think is really special, is if you have people who have been, these are your lifers, maybe they've been giving to you for 10 years, 5 years, you're 1 to 5% of people. Maybe they're the ones that are giving $500 a month. Can you create an ambassador program, an advisory circle that get these really special Zoom calls, first access to materials, invitations to your events, the opportunity to maybe go on a trip with you, the opportunity to attend your gala, whatever it is, something that really calls in to say, okay, we know that we are tied to who you are, and the identity. How can we loop you in? And then lastly, kind of these state of the moments. So whether quarterly or annually, what is something, an insider update that only your monthly donors can receive, that focuses on the big picture wins, the challenges, that you made this possible. So all of that to say, and again, I will I will pin the emails at the top. And I know we went over. I will look at all of the Q&As and respond via email. So look out for the email from me that's going to have answers in there. If you want more examples of retention ideas, my book has a ton, and you can get a copy. This will link you to Amazon, where you can check it out. And please reach out to Claudia with any questions about the Givebutter platform. I really, really, really think all of this is about evaluating your technology, your tools, your automations. How can you make it all help you work smarter, and have your donors be seen and have really successful recurring giving programs? Claudia, thank you so much. Anything you
Thank
would add?
I just wanted to say, Dana, that is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I really wish that the nonprofit that I was just giving to would find your resource. Honestly, might just have to nudge them a bit, but I would absolutely, as a donor, I would love to be engaged with the organization I'm giving to. I would love to hear from them. I would love to be on a newsletter, a donor specific, recurring donor specific, some sort of exclusive ambassadorship of a sort.
Yeah.
These are brilliant, engaging ways to get people involved. So I really look forward to seeing how a couple of these people who are joining us today implement this and how it
Yes.
works.
And I will say, like, I'll go ahead and take this off the screen. I've mentioned this before in a LinkedIn post, and so sorry if this is a duplicate for some people here, but the Hope Booth is a really good example where I gave to the Hope Booth from a LinkedIn post.
Mm.
Gloria Ymana posted on LinkedIn on International Women's Day 3 years ago, and I was looking to support a female-founded nonprofit on International Women's Day. Hers popped up. I donated because she's in Atlanta, and I do this work that I do. I reached out to her because I was like, I love your branding. And I just took that extra nudge. She then saw what I did and said, can we jump on a call? And so I said, sure. So we jumped on a call, and she was asking me questions. Our relationship grew. She literally wrote the foreword. It says, by Gloria Ymana,
Wow.
of my book, which is, God, she is a soul. She's such a great person. And then from that, we jumped on a call, and I was like, you know what you should do? You should have your monthly donors create like parties at their homes. And of course she goes, well, would you do one? And so for my birthday this past March, sure enough, I hosted 17 friends, and I talk about this, that I did my 3 favorite things: barbecue food, talking about the Hope Booth. So they came and presented, and I did an outdoor scavenger hunt in my neighborhood and with my friends. And 4 of them turned into monthly donors that night. 4 of them gave one-time gifts, and They brought, I don't even know, maybe 10 sweatshirts, and they sold them for $50, and all of them were bought. So when I tell you that your monthly donors want to do more than just their monthly gift, when they are called to and asked, they will do it. And one more last fun thing for the people that are still here, which is amazing. Clever use of AI. And I've been wanting to talk about this, and I haven't because this month's been insane. Does everybody see this postcard? Megan was with me in Dallas when this happened. This was created through ChatGPT, this image. A good friend of mine, Sarah Lee, she works for Coco, and she was in Dallas. I was doing a podcast interview with Trevon Williams from the NAACP on stage at Sub Summit. The background looked like this. On the screen was Missions to Movements. She took a photo, uploaded it to ChatGPT, and during the event, because there was a FedEx office at the hotel, got this printed and wrote a handwritten thank you note on the other side. It was a photo. So just a clever way of saying thank you right in the moment, to be creative in the moment, taking action and doing it simply. So with that, thank you all so much for being here. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and look forward to hearing all your retention stories. Bye all.